I think you better tell me you've got the title written down in front of you.
No, I haven't actually, but I'll pull it up. I'll tell you what today's
It's
element title
something to
is.
do with AI.
Most
We would like to
definitely,
talk about pyramids, but I think it's something to do with AI.
it is to do with AI. Today's theme is pretty much carrying on from where we left off on our last video, when we was touching on how AI has been integrated in a lot of the, you could say, future proofing for houses and some of the homes and even cities on the African continent, particularly the Saudis who are building a whole e-city. So we're moving into this discussion and framing it on the basis of, is AI taking over, or is it something that is going to work alongside our traditional mechanisms and things we do to function in everyday life? We're also going to delve into a little bit of a discussion on ancient cultures, and for that specific set of talking points, we have a special guest by the name of Martial Law, who you'll be introduced to right about
Big up,
now, I do believe.
Nathan, mashallah. Let me run things. Yes, Nathan. How you doing, my friend?
1 second. I've gotta just check on something. Yeah, he's with you, D. Go for
Unmute
it.
him.
Yeah, I've unmuted him. Apologies, folks.
Yeah,
Software error.
yeah. So, Nathan, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Yeah. I know it's late.
Yeah.
It's past your bedtime. It's past mine. It's past everybody's bedtime. But it's one of those things where we just gotta just boss it out,
We gotta do it.
and it'll all come together and all be for a good reason. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a man. It sounds like you're a man that's been studied in certain things. Okay, and you know what the information you've got is information that we want to, you need to impart it on the world. You didn't read all those books for nothing.
For real.
Yeah, and so let's just talk it as it is, bro. Yeah. So, but we have to start the conversation along the lines of what AI is doing and where it's going. But we can take it to what we want to talk about later on as well. So, do you use ChatGPT or any of those type of things?
Yeah, sure. I find it a great tool to save time. I don't use it that often, but how about yourself?
Okay. Well, so then you're considered an old boy then. If you don't use it that often, or you just use it just a little bit, then you're considered an old boy. You're considered crossification, like certain people might run like me.
Crustacean barnacles.
Crustacean barnacles and all that. That's what they say anyway. But trust me, they can try and come and test, and they'll find out. But it's really got to do with the way that young people are using it, because they're using it in a way that's completely, I don't want to say alien, but different to the way that people over 40 are using it. Well, that's what they say anyway. You know what I'm saying? But
So, folks,
yeah,
can I just
there's a little
jump
bit
in
of latency.
briefly? So, folks, just on a technical point, D, did you switch off of Wi-Fi?
Yes, I did.
Can you switch back to Wi-Fi? Because what it is, you got a clearer picture, although it's you're freezing. So I think it's a trade-off. Might be better off with the original method. Just a little pause for the cause, and we'll be right back with Dan Keck and Empower. I'll let you empower your life. Martial Law from Empower Your Life. I have to add our special guest tonight. Okay, D's back.
Yeah,
I think he's moving a bit more fluently.
Okay,
let's go.
So, yeah, because they're using it in another way. I'll tell you how I found out that they're using it, right, Nathan? Is like my son, he uses it because he does coding, right? And what I realized is that they're using it in coding to actually just create whole platforms and do things in a whole next different way, which is really interesting. I was like, that is another level of using Chat GPT that I didn't think about. You
Sounds
know,
a bit lazy.
That's
no,
one of the ways I used it. Not when I couldn't work out some code, I asked Chat
yeah,
GPT to finish it for me
right.
from a
That's
website.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's
Yeah.
not lazy.
So
It's necessity. It's using it and it's doing it from a standpoint of overstanding. I ain't got no time for dealing with like,
I guess
oh,
that's right.
what are we talking about here?
True,
It just
true.
cuts to the chase. All you want to do is change the color, and you want to put a picture in, and you want the screen to look like this, and you just tell it, and it just puts the coding in and just deals it, done and dusted. I mean, AI is there
saves
to
time.
work for us. It's not there. Sorry, go on.
No, I just said so it saves time, which
It's
is
a time saver
important.
from the off.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So you use it in a coding environment. You've used it in a coding environment.
Exactly, have used it. It's not like I use it often, just when I need to, spruce something up,
Yeah,
or, work out some code that is complicated and I don't want to.
exactly. And coding is long. I used to do the coding back way back in the day, right? When it was C++. Yeah, I used to use it
Yeah,
then to create some of the most basic games and stuff like that. Not and you put
nice.
all of this code in, type it all in, and then and then you get a little tired game, but but
Yeah,
I realized that I got a lot from that. I felt very what's the word, fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? So I
yeah,
understand. I like to say overstand a bit of what coding is and what it's about. So no one can't come and tell me, you know what I'm saying, about something that I don't know, I don't understand about coding. They could tell me a lot about what the stuff that goes on in coding that I don't understand, but what coding is and the effect of it is, it's a great thing.
So to move on
yeah.
from coding,
That reminds me of primary school.
very
Yeah,
true.
Sorry.
I was going to say, guys, to move on a little bit from coding, I mean, a lot of people are going to notice, like in a more immediate way, as on the receiving end, how this AI revolution's been affecting us. Obviously, for the last 12 months at least, Chat GPT, I mean, Apple now, I think they bought the company and it's built in to preloaded part of the iOS infrastructure. You ask a question, AI is answering the question at the top of the screen before you get your Google answers that we used to get,
yeah,
and yeah, I mean that's where these tech companies are pouring billions, and these companies who've gone public are sort of like what they're worth now is compounding rapidly because people are looking towards artificial intelligence as the big growing industry or whichever part of the globe you're on. But in terms of everyday life, it affects us. We've got it on our phones, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
from the off, and I can probably name a lot of other areas where you come in contact with AI without even realizing it, just doing day to day, everyday living tasks.
Hmm. Yeah,
Actually,
I mean,
I use it to make videos. It helps. It selects pictures for you, and you can use
Oh,
it
yes. Now you're
um,
warming up.
to.
yeah, I've used it to create pictures as well. Um to create pictures, I just give it the complete scenario, and then it creates the whole picture. But we can tell on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok that the people are using it on a next level because
Text to
they create
speech.
videos using famous faces, and they make the faces speak and move.
Oh yeah,
It's funny. It's funny
yeah. I've
actually
seen
because
Implement.
that.
that
Get
just
scammed by that.
that just brought
Yeah.
it to
Deep
yeah
fakes. Deep
that
fakes.
just brought it to the Bible,
Look
right?
at
That brought it to the
politics.
Bible
I
where
mean,
the Bible, which I'm not advocating. The Bible says that words to the effect of, what is it? Man will be fooled by things that look and speak like. Um, I can't remember exactly word for word, but yeah, that's what it's coming across with. Which is literally what it is. But we already see into that. Thank goodness we've seen through what is AI and what isn't, and can tell and know now to be very aware.
Can I say
Yeah,
something on those
of
lines?
when we see like Trump chatting, like cussing or whatever, we know that it's not real.
Can I make a point? Now, this is where it's going to get tricky going into the
Yeah, I saw a
future.
video of Joe Rogan.
I was going to talk about the same thing.
I
Exactly
saw a
what
video
I
of Joe
think
Rogan, and
you're going to say.
talking about where he was at a party and he saw Andrew Tate,
Mm-hmm.
and then he said he asked Andrew Tate if he knew about something,
Yeah.
and he said, no, what's that? And he said, give me your phone and I'll type it in for you. And basically he saw something on his phone that he shouldn't have seen, basically, but
Okay.
then I found out that the whole video was a fake.
It's a fake. That's what I was just about to
See,
So it
touch on.
wasn't Joe
yeah,
Rogan
That's
talking at all.
exactly
It
what
was
I was about to
AI.
touch on. Deep fakes. And where this came into prominence is the
Yeah.
previous US elections, which the elections before that, where Trump felt he got robbed of the crown, had a lot to do with technology. You had a lot of the big tech and socials companies, Facebook to name a few, were taking one stance or the other, and there was accusations which came out later when Twitter was bought up by Elon Musk with the Twitter files, when it came to light that they had a direct line, the administration of Twitter, with the FBI, and they were basically feeding them instructions from the Biden administration as to who to censor, who to cancel, and what information. I mean, this was a big deal during the lockdown, the COVID era, where they started to discover that some of the information was not as solid, factual,
culture.
as it was,
It's not
we
real.
were being
Yeah,
told. And those people,
been
you
made
know,
out to be in the first place.
like smart people, professors, people who dedicated their lives to medicine and study and science, they were being shut down because they were starting to
Yeah,
question things. So
Oh,
rather than
yes. See
fair
what you're saying.
exchange, and this is tech, but just to wrap it up and land and bring it forward, the last election campaign, they say Trump, some of his success to a large extent was to do with the fact that he showed up on these social media platforms that the younger generation spend more time on, and a lot of people get their news from, as opposed to being
Right.
dependent on legacy media. So, I mean, this is all tech related. And then
Mainstream media.
Exactly. And then we started to see these deep fakes, which, martial law just referred to, where you'll watch a video, you'll think, oh, that's Obama saying something, is that a mic drop moment? And then you only find out that it's not really him. It's just an AI generated video using his
that's right.
likeness, using his audio wave frequencies. And I'll just wrap up by saying this is something close to Dan Tech, because I saw a video his son put out specifically on the not text to video, I think it's text to sound. He was talking about it was a particular app he was reviewing, and with this app he demonstrated it by reading out a text himself, and then he typed in another set of text and let the AI engine read it out, and you couldn't tell the difference between him reading out
That's right.
a bit of text like me just reading something on screen, and my voice, which is generated
Right.
by the software, doing the same thing. So when you get to that stage
Yeah,
where we're at now, how do you
So
know what's real and what's not real?
yeah, yeah. There's one.
I
There's
know.
one
Have
where
you seen Max
there's
Headroom?
a guy.
Yes, I remember going
Max
back to
who?
the
Have you
80s,
seen
90s,
Max Headroom?
80s, 90s,
Max
Max
Headroom.
Headroom. Millennials and Gen Zs might not know who we're talking about.
He would stutter.
Martial law can
Yeah,
explain that.
yeah.
So you're saying
Yeah,
inaccuracies?
it's like there's an
Yeah, he was.
there's a chat GPT and an AI thing that it sounds like a guy. It sounds like a black guy. You know that one, and
No.
that one's been used by quite a lot of people on
Oh yeah,
IG. You
yeah,
know,
that voice.
quite a lot of people. And I
Okay.
thought
Yeah,
when I first said it, I
I know
thought,
the one.
wow, that person sounds powerful and very intellectually clued up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And all the time it was just
Who is
an
he?
AI that was just speaking it all out.
He is the
You know?
code that somebody like Daniel's
What
young son, who is a
I
code
think
writer,
what they do is they
is going to
get.
be writing in the future. Code. It's not real people.
Yeah, it's like what you Owen, what you was talking about
Yep.
that Dan Tech did,
Yep.
where they recorded. You record the voice once, and then you
Dan
can
Tech.
just get that voice,
Yeah, it's
and
like
it can be
Siri, isn't it?
repeated.
On our phones, you choose a
You can
voice.
Yeah.
type in for it to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
it
Yeah.
reads text. It reads text to speech.
So
You can pretty much
so
pick.
probably the
That's right.
actor's paid once,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or he probably gets royalty every time
Aha.
as well.
I'm,
You know.
The
you know,
big
I
strike.
wonder about that, you know?
Hollywood strike. Back last summer. That's what it was about. Using their likeness and not actually them.
Okay.
They went on
That's
strike.
right. Yeah. But actually, I
Right, I
wonder
see.
about that with the voice because that voice may possibly have been audio recorded from a particular person. You know, I wonder if he actually gets
That's
royalties
what I'm
from
saying.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. He would be the actor. You see,
It's a grey area because
Yes.
or the
they signed
voiceover artist.
contracts.
They're called.
Well, that was the previous
exactly.
how it used to be done, where you will have somebody who they go to work every day and their speciality is doing voiceovers, etc. Now, I think the problem that the
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hollywood actors were striking for
Wow.
was the fact that they signed contracts, and I'm guesstimating this, that allow the company to use their likeness, to use their image, to use their name, to use all kind of aspects of who
Yeah.
they are, however they choose to, once they've signed on that dotted
And they
line,
shouldn't sign those things then.
because you have to know what's
Yeah.
coming up in the future. And unbeknownst to probably a lot of
Yeah.
people, who would have predicted
Yeah.
so soon AI coming into the frame where they can make a short film or a documentary or a trailer without using the actual actor, actress, and just use their likeness, because their likeness has been turned into code. And the code is what replicates them in the video.
I don't know about you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about you guys, but I always restrict my signature when I sign anything these days. Since I learned,
Yep.
since
Absolutely.
Oh,
I taught
oh,
myself
oh,
law basically.
oh, we're
Absolutely.
So
Do you use colon? Do you use the
if I
colon?
was signing a contract like that,
I had to drop that, folks, because
what's
martial
that?
law brought in something very important there.
Rebel MC?
Yeah,
No, who was that?
no, that's
Barrington Levy?
Ecomas.
Barrington Levy.
Barrington Levi. Sorry. So Dan
Ah,
Keck's right.
Ecomas.
What martial law
No,
was?
Barrington Levy. Yeah.
Yeah, what martial law
Yeah,
opened the
go on.
door to is the legal side of some of these, things that we see coming in via tech into our futures, and most of us are pretty much, as lay people, unaware of that whole side of things. I don't read small print when I install a new app or something. This is an area where martial law has read up quite extensively on, and you could say, he can give you quite a few hacks in terms of how to get around some of these day-to-day legal things. And he's somebody we're going to have back on, and we're going to do a show and spend more time actually speaking about law. So I'll switch back over to him, and he can tell you a bit more about what he does on his website in respect to day-to-day legal matters.
Yeah, basically, there's different types of law. Like, there's 5 main law forms, and some of them basically restrict you more than others. So some of them are built for that purpose. So, to restrict you rather than we're not necessarily taught what our powers or our rights are. We're kind of given a surface level view of the law, so that we kind of restrict ourselves because we think, we paint all law with the same brush, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's different law forms, like I say, and some are more empowering than others. So I try to empower people by teaching them the, if you like,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, because you got laws and then you got acts of law, you see. So,
Okay, that's something you might have to clarify a
you
bit
know,
more.
And then
But
you have statutes,
yeah,
and then you have
exactly. So you got, well,
yeah, yeah. But yeah. So
got
yeah,
statutes, acts of
bits.
law.
I knew bits. I know of and bits of that as well. So now, what I was asking you about, you said it was about your signature. I said, do you use colon when you're doing
Yeah,
it? Colon, first name from the colon, first name colon, and then surname colon and stuff like that. Do you do that?
yeah, but
how do you mean?
the main thing that I do is I
What are you guys referring
restrict my
to?
signature. So
What do you mean when you say signatures? Or
Restricted.
just
when you
so, folks, just to get a clear idea of what you
so
two are speaking about, what are we referring to when you say signature? You're not talking about signing your signature on a document. You're talking about something else?
I mean, most of that stuff comes from David Windmiller. You know, he was talking about um, what was it? He calls it. I can't remember what he calls it. Some kind of language like similar to coding. I can't remember the name he gave it, but
There's three types of
basically,
writing.
if you look,
There's sign language. There's American Sign Language.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There is
that's right.
uh, there's there's uh, there's an acronym for it, but there's an American Sign Language. There's
Is European Sign Language different?
oh oh my God, sorry. You see, I haven't talked about it for a long time, but basically when your name is written in all capitals, okay, there's
In
that
all
doesn't
capital letters,
exist
that's American Sign
in
Language.
the
Yes,
English language, does it, Nathan? That your name
that's
written
right.
in
So
all
that's a
capital
different
letters
language.
when it comes, yeah, in through the letterbox. So let's say you get a
Yeah,
fine or a court or a summons of some
yeah,
sort, and it's written in all capital letters, right? It's actually not you.
How do you mean?
Yeah,
I don't get
it's
that.
the
yeah,
Break
it's
it down.
that is not actually you. That's the
yeah,
so-called.
yeah.
There's many different names for it, but there's also
Well, it's
that's
like if you're playing Monopoly.
the paper version of you, the straw man version of you, and that is a version that was created at the same time that you were created.
Yes,
But the moment that you became, but the moment you were registered by your parents,
Your
it's
government name,
basically signing you over
birth certificate.
to signing the birth certificate, signing you over to what you call, people say the devil, some people say the system, some people say many different things. You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? But basically, from the time you were signed over, our parents created a birth certificate or registered
that's not very
us.
clear to me.
Then what
Yeah,
happens is
yeah.
we became the property of the bearer of the
Straw
certificate,
man.
Okay,
or
D.
the
I kind
Yes.
of have
person,
an
the people
idea.
who actually gave us
Sorry to jump in.
the
I have a vague idea of what you're kind of breaking down, but it's still not very clear to me. I mean, most people just know you got your name, how you kind of when they say write your name in block letters or whatever, and then you sign a document, then you do your signature. So those two,
You're talking about different things there.
that's
That's
what
different
no,
things
but
you're
that's what I'm
talking
asking
about.
you because
Yeah.
I want just
There's
for people who are
signing a
listening as
name.
well. They might not
Yeah,
understand
signing a
exactly what
name.
you're.
I mean, Nathan knows about this and can talk about this in depth also.
Okay, D
I'm
D.
just talking about.
Just to like put a spotlight on it, I'm going to hand you back over to like Nathan and you just for this one subject to clarify it before we move on to the the ancient culture stuff that we are going to touch on. Just to wrap up on
All
this
right.
point, you're talking about signatures, yeah? Exactly what is it that you're saying most people are not aware of in relation to our government names and signatures? And if you can chime in,
Okay.
Nathan, as well,
I,
please.
I get you. I get you. So I'm gonna ask Nathan questions, right? But and to clarify what we're talking about, or what he's talking about. Sorry.
Okay.
And really, so first of all, our signature is worth it's actually
Gold.
priceless, isn't it, Nathan? It's worth more
Yeah,
than the
that's
weight
right.
of
So,
gold. It's more, yeah. This is why you don't sign your name
yeah.
on anything and everything. Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
Well, your signature. So it's first of all. Well, first of all, we're born into, like what you was touching on. We're born into a commercial system, and it's like playing Monopoly. You have to have a token in Monopoly to go around the board, right? And if you imagine the board is the commercial system, and your token is not you, but a piece of paper with your name on it. So representing you, yeah, because we physically can't step onto the Monopoly board, right? So we have to have a token to represent ourselves. And it's the same in the commercial system that we live in, because everything's commercialized, everything's for money, right? So our name in all capital letters, if you like, or let's just say our birth certificate, is the token that we play this game of commerce with, right?
I see.
And
Very
our
interesting.
signature, um, you know, our signature is a representation of ourselves as well, right? So, but the thing about, mankind,
Yeah.
is that, we have intrinsic value, and it's not, we operate in the private. See, there's two kind of sides to this world, the commercial system that we live in. There's a private side and a public side.
When you
And
say
Yeah,
this
private
is
and
where it
public,
all comes,
do you
where
mean,
this comes in.
sorry
Well,
to
this is
cut
what
you,
I'm
Nathan,
explaining. So,
just to break it up
so for
slightly.
instance, well, let me just finish this point.
Okay,
Let me just finish
because I'm still not quite
this
on track.
point, Owen.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
You're
there's
not gonna
public and
get
private
everything
side.
in one sitting.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, you're not going to get everything in one sitting,
No, I'm
exactly.
not
But the
talking about
point
that.
is, there's a public and a private side. Man is the private. Man is the private side. We can't enter into the public side without a token. So our signature, or our name in all capitals, is a token. Just like we can't enter onto a Monopoly board, we need a
Mm.
token. And
That's the
that's
monopoly
because
board
we
of
live in the
life.
real world, the private side, the private world.
I mean,
Yes.
I still don't
So the
quite get
Monopoly
the
board is like the
difference.
public, yeah, but we can't physically enter this public side
Hmm.
without a token to play the game of Monopoly or the game of commerce with,
Can
because
I
there's
just give you a layperson's
commercial
remix?
law, commercial maritime law.
Are you talking about like who we are when we step out into the world? Physically, they can see, yeah, that's Owen walking down the road there, or that's me on camera, that's
Yeah.
Dan, it's you on camera. And
Yes,
then
that's correct.
then
Mm.
you're saying there's another representation of who we are, which is on paper. Is that the distinction
That's
you're making?
correct.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah,
legal world.
yeah.
Okay,
That's
You can call
that
that the
makes sense.
yeah.
legal world, you see.
Okay, the
We
legal.
can't physically
It's like
enter the legal world without a bit of paper
Okay, paper
yeah.
trail.
to represent
It's like
us.
an example of that is also that when you go into a courthouse, okay, they speak a language called legalese. Yeah. So that language
Yeah.
is a language that they overstand and we understand, right? And when that means that we don't know it as well
Yes,
as they know it,
exactly.
and they utilize that, okay, to discuss anything that they wish to discuss. And then the moment and when they come to actually converse with you, they say, do you understand the charges that you have been placed under, or do you swear by X, Y, and Z, depending on the Bible? They're all part of the same regime. And then the moment you say, yes, I do, you have contracted to their game. And the game is literally the game of being in their court. Now, there's a
So
basketball court, there's a tennis court. Let me finish. There's cricket, there's football court, there's all types of courts. Well, guess what? The legal court is just the same. It's a game, and you have to understand. I say overstand. You have to. I like to use the word overstand, meaning you really get it. Yeah, you have to overstand what on earth is actually going on there. Do you know how many people have gone into court or a courthouse and they haven't understood one single word that's been said to them, and then they come out and they think they understand, and when they come out of court, they don't even realize what's actually happened. It's happened many, many, many times over a long period of time. So because
Yeah,
of
the game
that,
is stacked.
what happens is that,
That's how it's played.
pardon?
The game is stacked. That's how it's
Yeah.
played. Weighted dice.
So what Nathan is talking about is that we've got different types of law. There's maritime law and there's the law of the sea. So there's the law of the land and
I
there's
think
the
you're going
law
into
of the
something
sea.
slightly different though there, D.
That's it. No. He's right.
Okay.
So commercial law
Okay.
is commercial maritime law, meaning the law of the sea. Because if you go back in time to when, it goes back to like goldsmiths. But if you remember when the ships used to carry a cargo of gold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of ships sunk, and they would lose that cargo. So they got
Yeah.
the idea that, well, instead of sending the cargo over, why don't I write a bit of paper that is a receipt for the gold,
Yeah.
and then we can exchange the receipts rather
promise
than
to pay the
having to,
bearer.
like, if we, for instance, if we exactly. So, for instance, if we want to buy something from another country, instead of traveling the gold to buy it all the way over the sea, just say, look,
Yeah.
we'll put the gold in the goldsmiths. He can give us a receipt. That's where banking came from, basically.
Actually,
Which
And
is
then
where
exchange the receipts.
interject. Me and D, I think it was the last show when we was talking about Africa and we got into speaking about smuggling, currency, rare minerals. You were speaking about, I think you was talking about gold, and I brought up that fact that the African countries were struggling with a lot of the gold being exported with no export fees coming back into the country to develop their infrastructure and their currencies due to criminal activities, although the West have kind of set up the surface trade and the below the
currency.
surface trade so that things work that way for the developing in the African countries.
The current sea,
That's right.
current of the sea,
I see.
Currency of the sea. Current. Listen to the word current.
the bank,
Yeah.
Yeah.
river
All
bank,
words have power.
Okay.
It's a
river bank.
currency. Yeah.
Interesting.
Just like there's a flow,
Yeah.
there's a flow of the river,
Yeah.
right? And the currency
Flow,
is actually the real power. Yeah. So just like electricity, you got 250 volts, right? That's volts. But the real power is in the amps, the amplitude, which is the current. Yeah, that's where the real power is, because America's got a higher currency, hasn't it? Like, I mean, a higher current, because they have their amps is higher. The voltage is lower. They like have 110 volts. I'm just touching on a bit of sorry. They've got 110 volts, but they have like 30 amps. That's the thing that can kill you when you get shocked by it.
Of
Yeah,
course.
so it's the currency, it's the
Right.
power of the wave. But dealing with that, we're talking about the fact that Owen, you were talking about when you first born. Yeah, when this is where everything stems from. Yeah, when you're first born, all right, you are a human being. You are a
course.
living soul. Yeah, but
Yes.
after that point, okay, you're born into a system that quickly shows you that you're in a sort of a form of matrix which they are in control of.
Yeah.
And the control that and where they're coming from with that control is they're controlling every aspect of it to the point where you believe that when you get written to, when someone writes to you with a traffic violation or any type of violation, they write to you in all capital letters, and you believe that that is you, but it's not you.
Exactly.
It's not you, right? And on top of that, what Nathan was talking about with the signature, and signing, right? You don't sign when you sign. Yeah, your signature is worth more than Elon Musk's bank account, but you don't realize that.
You'll have to
Yeah,
explain that a
it's
bit more.
worth more than Elon
Exactly.
Musk's bank account.
I mean, Elon Musk can go
All
to
right.
the bank, draw out $1 billion, and say, "I want to buy a whole street in Mayfair." I can't take my signature and do the
Okay,
same
guess
thing.
what? If you could cash in your what you are actually really worth,
Mm-hmm.
you would be shocked, mate. Because you see your birth certificate,
Mm-hmm.
all right, your birth certificate, um, which was created by them, and what we do is we say, oh, excuse me, government. Okay,
Yeah.
I am registering my child with you, right? And so really, the child is yours, but I'm looking after the child.
Okay.
Okay, that's what's happening. The child is I'm registering my child with you, Mr. Government, but the child, but so you actually now own the child, but I am looking after the child. So I'm basically, I mean, it's like also to do with your what you call the your car logbook. Yeah, it doesn't say the owner; it
Mm-hmm.
says the registered keeper,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're not the owner of the vehicle, you are the registered keeper.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean it belongs to you. That's the same thing with the birth certificate. And if you
I
was to
see.
actually apply for, check me if I'm wrong, Nathan. If you was to actually apply for your birth certificate, I'm talking about the original birth certificate, okay? And they were to give it to you after you write to them correctly, stating that you request your original birth certificate. On the back of it, you will see the stamp of all the corporations of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
I like
I'm not sure.
I like the use. I like the word original because if you go
Just
to
discovered the
the IRS
700,000.
in America, they have
What was that?
what was that?
I
That
wanna
sounds like a different
when
voice,
you
man.
guys,
To the
if you guys
IRS
can
in
wrap this
America,
up,
they have
I wanna spend just a little bit of time on the ancient cultures, so we don't completely leave that off of the
they,
live before we wrap up. So if you
they
can
have
lead into that, I wanna play a
All
video that will kind of
right,
set the ground when you've
all right, go on, Nathan.
cleared up the subject.
they have a form called the 1099 OID. OID stands for original issue discount, and you can actually
Right.
get that money from them. But that's a different story. I mean, I've actually done that before.
What is that?
Really?
But you was yeah.
What is it?
But it's the original issue because you're the original issuer because you're a man,
Issue in what?
or a woman, mankind,
Passport, driving license. What are
the
you
original issue. So this
referring
goes
to?
back to what Dan Tech was talking about. This goes back to what Daniel Tech was talking about, that
Can you
we
just recap,
have,
please? Summary.
Elon Musk might have billions of pounds.
Oh, the
Elon
price,
Musk
the
might have
value
billions
of
of
your
pounds,
signature. Okay, I
but
get it now.
value of our signature
Yeah.
is worth more.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, if you look at any pound note or any dollar bill, it will always say on it, I will pay the bearer
I
the
promise to pay the
sum
bearer.
of XYZ amount on
Yeah.
demand. Yeah. Promise to pay the bearer the sum of £5, whatever. That's a
Okay.
promise to pay. That means they haven't
Promissory
paid you
note.
yet, even though you're holding that bit of paper in
Yeah,
your
promissory
hand.
note.
That
Yeah.
doesn't have value. It's the promise to pay that has the value.
We're in a language-based
Yeah.
system. I mean,
And you'll notice there's a signature on all of those things,
yeah.
and it's the signature that has the value.
Well, this is kind of a
Yes.
good point.
It's because it's like you're being a guarantor. You, a
Okay.
man, have the value, and you're guaranteeing the value of that note or
And
that
the
bill.
gold reserve.
Yeah. And this is, going back to what Dan Tech again was saying about overstanding and understanding. So if you stand under something,
Mm-hmm.
like I had somebody, one of, these authorities said to me, like, he said to me, I'm going to, I think he said he's going to caution me, and he read out some gibberish, and he said, do you understand? I said, I don't stand under anything you just said. Yeah. Do Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
Okay,
And
I wanna take this
but
into where we're
there's
going
a thing
next,
called
if I can.
underwriting, which
Yeah, like what insurance companies do or
basically
investors do.
you're agreeing finish just to finish.
Mm-hmm. Have
The
we lost?
guarantor
Oh,
just
okay,
to
we're still here.
finish, Owen,
Yeah.
is like you say, what insurers and investors do.
Mm-hmm.
They underwrite stuff so that they're guaranteeing. They're like guarantors guaranteeing
I want
value
to
or
mention
something. That's what
something
our
now,
signature does,
and it's going to come back to you, Nathan,
basically.
and it's going to come back
So
to you,
that's why it has
Dan.
more value.
Okay,
That's why
so
it has more value.
I get it a bit more clearer than I did before because I was lost in the beginning, but now you've highlighted it, added more, sort of context and everything to it. What I want to do is move this into the ancient culture um, discussion, which Nathan, as a guest, is going to really take us a little further in that direction. And we've been talking about, well, he's just been talking about currency and the promissory note. And as far as I can recall, if I'm correct, that promissory note was linked to the gold reserve historically when people was coming out of trading with actually real trading in real gold
Yeah.
coins. People used to chip off a little part of it and chip off another part. And then, in movies, you'll see people biting the coin to see if it's real or fake. So before the paper money came about, what Nathan was just speaking about and Dan Keck with the promissory note, from what I understand, that was based on the actual physical gold that they decided to move into, whatever they call the gold reserve. And I think it in 18 or 1900, I can't be specific, but I'll get the information for another show. They actually based the gold reserve in the USA in the Federal Bank or something like that. So the gold from all these different nations who are part of
The
the
Federal
same club,
Reserve Bank.
yeah, who are part of the same club, yeah, they kept their gold. If there's a war going on in one country, it doesn't matter. That country's wealth, the bulk of it, in terms of gold, that doesn't lose its value, is stored somewhere else anyway. So that gold's sitting there, and countries are
Yeah.
trading with paper money.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
help, just to touch on what you're saying then, Owen, just to
Yeah.
break it down a bit more,
Yeah.
is that yes, that's which is to do with what Nathan was saying. It says, I promise to pay the bearer
Mm-hmm.
the sum of,
Yeah.
if it's £5, £10,
Yeah.
£20, and £50.
Mm-hmm.
And if you notice, our currency only goes up to £50. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're so stuck up and
The
prudish
biggest note.
that we don't even do £100 note, a £1,000 note,
America.
a £2,000, a £5,000 note. But just let me just finish that point.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that that's why it's called fiat currency. It's called fiat currency because it is as fake as fake as fake can be.
What
Because
does fiat
it's like
mean, though?
it's a promissory note.
What does the word fiat mean?
Fiat means a currency that's been created.
Means
You
not
can
backed
get up
by
the
gold or
exact
silver.
meaning of it.
Not backed by the gold stock. So that means it's not worth anything then.
Not backed by anything of intrinsic value.
So if it's not backed by anything that actually
It has no intrinsic
has
value.
a physical worth, it's not worth anything in practice.
Yeah.
If you're saying that's the case,
It's fake. It's
Dang.
fake currency. It's not even worth the paper it's written on.
that ain't good. Now, speaking about gold and ancient cultures, I want to
Well,
play.
it's
This is your essential resource covering
I'll
the
let you wrap up first, Nathan, and then I'm going to play something that connects currency, gold
I'm
with
so
ancient
sorry.
cultures,
I'm so sorry.
as it's going to show. It's gonna take us back to Africa and remind us which country or which part of the world where a lot of this gold came from, and how before the West, had their day of ruling the waves and the empire and running things in general. There were
Shut the
earlier
door, please.
societies that, based on gold, the same gold that still has a value today, had their own systems, and it wasn't just financial systems. This also connected with science, with medical advancements, and a ton of things that hadn't yet been discovered or made part of the daily societies in the Western world. So when you kind of become aware of some of these things, it kind of evens how the history is told, that they were all savages and the West came with trinkets and religion and took them out of the dark ages. The cycle isn't as clear cut as that. You know, there was times where you would say parts of Africa was more advanced than the West, and then times that we're more familiar with, where obviously the West were academically and financially and industrially more advanced than parts of Africa. But I'm gonna play this video, and I think every one of you are gonna know the key reference and who they're talking about. So I'm gonna run it now. If I can take it back to the beginning. Here we go.
Mali has just discovered 700,000 African books and manuscripts that has survived in the Tombuku University. As you all know that when these Europeans came to Africa, they stole all our history books. They made sure that
And remember, we're talking about paper money. We're talking about gold. It will all tie in.
Mali has so much history about Africa. You know the reason why? This is the country where the richest man in the history of the world, in the history and the present of the world, the richest man by the name Massa Musa lived. This was the greatest African black empire in Mali. So they have just discovered this book. Now, according to the discoverers, they say that in this book, it says that during the time when Europeans were still banning the witches, they say that Tombuku feasts were performed.
Any of you guys want to chime in with any knowledge, wisdom, and overstanding, as Dan Keko put it, just let me know. I'll pause the video and we can return to it.
Well, it's going off in slightly different flight.
The Africans were already...
When it wraps up, you'll kind of see how it ties into some of what we're talking about and leads into the ancient culture, which is 45 minutes. We've probably got another 15 minutes left of the stream. So if we can touch on a bit of that, it would wrap it up nicely.
The things that were already discovered by our own people. It's time for Africa to rise, my people. I don't know what you think about this information. Tell me in the comment section what you know more about Africa. We move, my people.
Living a dream. There you go. He was really just touching on.
I can tell you some interesting things about Mali.
Okay, well, you lead in. Yes, get it.
So basically, the Dogon people from Mali say that their ancestors came from Sirius B, which is a white dwarf and is not visible to the naked eye. And they have said this for thousands of years. But we only discovered Sirius B, modern man or Western man, in around 1980 or 84 or something like that.
Sorry, Nathan, when you say Sirius B...
I mean, they first mathematically...
Are you referring to, like, you know, they've got...
the one that is invisible to the naked eye, so you wouldn't...
I just wanted to, like, not move off.
You wouldn't be able to see it. You wouldn't have been able to see it.
From that first point you made, Sirius B, when you're talking about a discovery of a type of, like, human being or person in the evolution of mankind, or what?
No, what he's talking about, Nathan, is there's the solar system, Sirius, and in that solar system,
planets.
It's a solar system.
So you're talking about
what there is, there's a star.
Just to be clear,
there's a star called Sirius A. Okay. And what happens? And in that star constellation, there is a star. And the thing is, for years, scientists didn't realize that there was that why it would flash and it would flicker, right? But what happened is, that's because they couldn't see it. They couldn't see it. They didn't have telescopes powerful enough to see it. But they knew that it kept flickering and flickering and turning and flickering, and then the Dogons of Mali were talking about this star system hundreds and thousands of years before the scientists even discovered it. But what happened is, on top of that, they didn't really westernized scientists.
We're talking about,
and on top of that, they didn't realize that there was actually two stars. There's Sirius A and Sirius B.
Okay.
And these two stars
And C.
were actually rotating around each other because they're trapped in a.
Wait, sorry, Daniel. One second. So we're don't want to lose something in translation. Nathan, you just said C, so you're saying there's also a C.
And C as well, yeah.
Okay.
And C, yeah, as well.
Series A,
So there's
B,
series A, B, and C.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically they're rotating around each other in that star constellation, and because of that, and the Dogons of Mali were speaking about these, and they were looking also where their country is, Mali. They are actually exposed to that part of the sky continuously. So they're looking at it, they're talking about it, and they also have rituals and they have dances that actually in correlation with that.
So basically you're saying over there where Mali is, unlike us in the West, they haven't got so much light pollution. When they look up in the sky, they can actually see these constellations that to us in the West, or to those in the West, may have been invisible.
No, they can't see. They can't see Sirius B. They can see. No, it's in Orion's belt, isn't it? The Sirius
it's in Orion,
system, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
So
Uranus
system of Orion.
How is it visible to the people in Africa and not to other scientists in other parts of the world?
It's not visible.
No, it wasn't visible
whatsoever.
Okay.
But what the point is that they talk about it. They have whole historical facts and information about it, which is what Nathan is talking about also. And they knew about it thousands of years before. Like I said, I've been talking about it thousands of years before the scientists even discovered it existed in that part of the so-called night sky.
Okay, so we don't run too fast because I'm a bit slow when it comes to new information like this. So
it's no problem,
guys.
It's no problem.
That's no problem for me neither. But just to let you know why I pull you back from time to time and slow you down, just to get you to like expand on something and then move on. Well, then I understand.
Can I chime in?
Sure, please.
Can I chime in there?
Yes, you can.
So
yes, brother.
Basically, they were told about it. They didn't actually see it. They were told about it. They say by their ancestors who came from that star system is what they tell us.
Right? More understandable.
And they knew intricate details about it. They have a ritual every 50 years, like Dante said. They do a ritual that's every 50 years, and the orbit of Sirius it coincides with the orbit of Sirius basically, although Sirius actually takes 52 years to orbit.
So and the dance that they actually do on the ground. Sorry, brother. The dance that they actually do on the ground coincides exactly with the orbit of the way that Sirius A, B, and C move.
Okay. I'm understanding this.
How deep is that?
Yes, because it's a ellipse. It's an ellipse.
An elliptic orbit. So the thing is that So the thing is that there's more that we can go into on that. There's more that we can go into on that. But that's just one of the things that people find really strange.
So this is ancient
and are not
knowledge.
Able to take
point, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to finish my point, I was just saying that they knew intricate details about its nature. So the 50-year orbit was one of them, and also they named it after a plant that grows in the area with tiny seeds.
Wow.
Called digitalis.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yes.
And because they knew that they knew its nature, because it was a white dwarf and it was like tiny compared to the mother planet Sirius A. So
can I ask you something?
That's the reason they can't see it as well, because it's imploded upon itself.
I see. Yes.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask you is, now this is kind of going off the beaten track. You were saying like their beliefs about this white planet, and they're African historians and the people, astrologers, whatever title you'll give them, going back way back then. You don't think this has anything to do with some of the coming more forward to closer to our time, some of the superstitions that some of the African cultures have have adopted when it comes to albinos and excuse me, some of the superstitions they attach to, you know, people who are born without pigmentation, without melanin, you know, and that pigmentation where they look colorless. You don't think there's a connection there?
I mean, I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
I don't know anything.
It's a passing thought.
Yeah, well, there's a connection or not.
Well, the thing is that it's a superstition. That word is a funny word because you know, that word is a little bit like conspiracy theories. Yeah, there's conspiracy theories and there's conspiracy fact.
Okay.
Yeah, there's conspiracy theories and there's conspiracy fact. You get me? Because the things that they were talking about that was conspiracy before, okay, are now fact. So it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact.
Yeah.
And just the same way.
Yeah, and
go on.
And with that ties in perfectly with what we're talking about, because obviously before 1984 or whenever the West actually discovered Sirius B, they brushed that off as conspiracy theory, right? But now it's conspiracy fact because the facts. We know the facts now.
No, it's valuable
knowledge.
So it's been proven to be real that Sirius B exists.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
is the point. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Yeah. Or it could be classed as superstition, but now they know it's real. Yeah.
It's,
right. So some of that now. So what you were saying, Owen, right, is that on CornerSpeak is that some of the things that they call tradition and they call it superstition.
Traditions,
the African traditions, particularly the African traditions.
Yeah.
They call it the tribal beliefs. Yeah, they call it superstition, and then their own people say, "Oh, it's just superstition, and it's just this, and it's just that."
Some people swear by it. They, you know, it's
I know. So there's people who swear by it, and there's people who go completely against it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it's a confusion that's been put in place, and it just causes everything. It's just a cacophony of freaking and no understanding, where no type of knowledge now, no type of actually getting to the bottom of what really it's all about is gonna come to fruition because of the fact that it's just all confused and twisted. You know, I find that people who are Christians, all right, they will go and they'll follow Christianity. But yet, at the same time, I was just speaking with one of my family members about the fact that the shamans or the people in the villages, they will do something, and that will have an effect on someone in real life,
tribal
in
medicine.
reality.
Tribal medicine.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about magic.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah?
Tribal medicine.
I'm talking about medicine, man.
Yeah. You go to the
it will have a real effect. But yet you can go and pray all you want to pray. You can pray all you want to pray to Jesus. You can pray all you want to pray to Jesus, okay? And say, look, I'm sorry, that man's done something to me. I want to do something to him. And nothing ain't gonna happen. But you go to the spiritual man in the village and you just give him something, cross his palm with some gold, and trust me, you're gonna see something happen to that man. I'm gonna piss off.
Look, it's like if you go look in 1700, 1600, 1800, even further forward in the English British history, when they were throwing witches into the river to see if they float or sink or whatever. Look, they were doing a similar thing, even when they had adopted.
Yeah, if she floats, religion, she's a witch.
Yeah, they were still.
If she drowns, then she's innocent.
Exactly. So when the Bible was embraced, and they were on their crusades and that, you still had people who were still doing exactly what some of the modern Africans are doing and have done, where they'd be playing it both ways. They'd sit down in church on Sunday, confess to the priest or whatever, pay their tithes and whatever, to guarantee a place in the afterlife, a better spot than their neighbor, and then they'll still go to somebody who's practicing a banned medicine woman or somebody's, they'll call them witches over here, I guess, in the West.
Witchcraft.
And yeah,
black magic.
as a matter of fact, wherever you go on the globe, they're called witches and it's called witchcraft, whatever language you translate it to.
Yeah.
So they were doing the same thing in the West, where they will sit down in church on Sunday and then go and pay somebody for a bottle of something that they got to pour somewhere and do some kind of ritual so that they'll get some benefit, be it, be it a love potion, or they want to beat their competitor, or they want to, be they're in somewhere in the line of the monarchy and they want to be bumped up a few steps, meaning a couple people have to be moved out the way.
Just to move everything on a bit, Owen. Yeah. Is what Nathan was also talking about was about the fact that it lines up with the Orion star constellation, and that touches on the fact that the pyramid in Giza, which we was going to talk about briefly, actually aligns 100% with the Orion star constellation.
I've heard about the constellation
and Sirius, right? And there's a shaft in the pyramid, okay, that goes right down into the Queen's chamber. Yeah, and 10,500 years ago, that shaft was aligned 100% pinpoint with the Orion star constellation. I'm talking about the light from the Orion star constellation would shine down directly into this shaft that's inside this pyramid that goes all the way into the center, okay, shedding light on what's going on inside. This is all
very interesting.
I mean, the pyramids.
And I'd like to ask both of you something. Not going too deep into the pyramids for now, but it's related to this.
No, because we need to round up now.
Definitely, and that's why I want to ask both of you something. It's leading to the the wrapping up portion of the live. Although I'll hand that over to you two guys to do your closing talking points. The question I want to ask is: we started off with AI, and we moved into the ancient customs, beliefs, and things that took place in past times. And somewhere along the way, there's a connection between the two, old, new, and the present, three positions, the past, the future, and where we stand now, which is never for any lengthy period of time. If you think of everything moving in time, so we're always moving into the past or setting it behind ourselves, and we're always kind of one step into the future. That aside, question I want to ask to you, Martial Law, and also Dan Keck, is you would have heard some people have these beliefs that some will call conspiracy theories, others will call unproven facts, that the pyramids were built by, some kind of advanced alien society who, came to our Earth, left some knowledge with us and some artifacts and, built the pyramids or whatever, and went away and kind of left us to our own devices. There's other people who believe some of that, other people who believe less of that. Though me and Dan had this conversation before about the precision of how the pyramids were built, how the stones were cut, how they moved the limestone 200, kilometers from one location to the other, all those kind of things without advanced engineering. So the question is, we're talking about future technology, current AI, and taking over some of the things that we used to do in an older fashioned way. The question I want to get to is, do you see a connection between the cycle we experience, industrial revolution, now the AI kind of revolution, and when we were more primitive, and some of the beliefs people have about the pyramids that are more advanced? There were more advanced cultures than where we are now, like maybe hundreds or thousands of years ago. I mean, we see some of it in just that example of Mali, where they had scientists or medically trained people who could do cataract surgeries and advanced surgeries that while the West was still having to trying to figure out a cure for the plague or something. So it's not a given that knowledge has spread across the population of the planets all at the same time in an equal way. When you look at those things, would you go one step further and say that some of what people believe about the origins of the pyramids and people arriving here with this advanced knowledge from other planets and tech. Do you give that any light at all, or do you just, both of you, cast it aside as outrageous conspiracy theories?
Well, there's NASA photos of a 5-sided pyramid on Mars and Sphinx's head to begin with.
Right.
There's also, in a book that I mentioned earlier,
What's the title for that book, in case someone wants to look it up?
I can't remember the full
Inquiry.
title, but it's something
Inquiry.
something about
Your fire. Your
Okay.
no,
life.
something about
Empower your life.
secrets behind the
No,
Iron
no,
Curtain.
that's
Say again?
the website. I'll get the name from
No,
you.
the
and
book.
I'll put it in the description. So don't worry about that for now. I'll get that from you later and put it in the description if anyone wants to look it up. Yeah, carry on, Nathan.
Yeah, it's something about secrets behind the Iron Curtain, and it was it's got photos of obelisks on the moon and stuff.
Okay.
It's mostly, I think they're Russian photos because the book's about Russia.
Not conspiracy theory then.
But yeah, NASA photos.
Dan Keck.
Well, if the photos are
Well-
fake, but I can't see them putting fake photos
so they
in there
might
and
be-
saying,
It's questionable, though they might be real. Okay, that's something we're probably going to want to
I mean,
return
you can
to.
look at the source.
We're gonna.
You can look at the source, but
I
the
think we're gonna follow that
NASA
up.
photos of Mars, you can
We're not gonna leave
see
it.
those.
We're not gonna leave it in this show. Now Nathan's thrown down the whatever they call it, and we're gonna
The gauntlet.
the gauntlet.
Yeah, we haven't. Can
We'll
I
follow that
say
up.
my one now
Over to
before
you,
you
D. Yeah,
before
yeah,
you
over to
round me
you.
up?
It was coming. No, it's coming straight to you. I just wanted to
Oh, sorry.
just just wanted to transition over. So we're over to you, D.
Okay. Well, I think all I'm going to say is that Neil deGrasse Tyson, okay, who
He's
is
the black scholar, yeah.
a neuroscientist. He's a very popular
Astronomer.
scientist because of
He's what?
astronomer, scientist, astrology, astronomy and astrology, and he's got everything covered anyway.
Okay.
And anyway, he put it really in a great way, because he said, if you look at the apes, okay, he goes, sorry, who's the nearest DNA equivalent to us? Yeah, and that's chimpanzee, right? Okay, and they are literally
Agreed on
only
that.
2%. They only have 2% less information than what we have. Okay, now we have 2% more of what than they have, and look what they can do. They can do some great things, but they can only do child's play
They
in
have
relation
social
to what
skills, do they not?
we can do.
They organize.
They
in
have
groups.
tons of social skills.
They
right?
organize in groups
So they organize in groups.
with
They
a
have
dominant
family.
dominant alpha.
There's so many things that they do, which shows
Yeah.
that they have
Yeah,
intellect
family
and
units.
intelligence. But yeah,
Mm.
right.
Also-
but that in relation to now, so then if you take someone or another being, okay, who has 2% more than us,
Mm-hmm.
what the heck do you think that they can do? What are they going to look on us as? They're going to look on
Well,
us as the same type of thing,
it
a
seems
playmate. Very simple.
2%.
Let me finish, please, a minute.
Okay.
They're going to look on us as playmate. They're going to look on us as children. They're going to look on us as primitive. They're going to look on us as on a level that needs to step up to the level that they're at.
That's
So they
amazing.
would not expose themselves to us. They don't need to expose themselves to us on that level, simply because we are primitive in relation
Yeah,
to
but
them,
D,
and that's them with only 2%
Just-
more genetic,
coming from a different
power,
direction,
basically.
don't you think it's all down to what you attribute as difference between, as the example you made of the chimpanzee to us, what is in that 2%? Because some people may say there's not really that much difference. Some people might say there's, millions of, whatever apart from, the one to the other. So I think I would on
Well,
my
clearly there
side, I'll
is
say
millions
there's a
apart.
maybe. With me completely agreeing with you on that one. I'd say yes. There's a
Yeah,
lot
but clearly there
to
is.
that.
That 2% is a massive, massive amount, because if that's what a scientist or someone who has done the deep level study has said that there's only 2% difference between us and a chimpanzee, and look at what we are able to achieve in relation to what they're able to
Maybe we
achieve,
attribute too
then
much
let's
to our
look at
achievements.
2% more. Let's look at
Maybe we attribute
2%
too
more
much.
than what we can achieve, and what can they do?
Well, the thing is,
You
maybe
know
we
what I mean?
think
So I'm
we've
saying,
done too much. Maybe we think we're that difference that we say that makes
no,
us great.
we haven't done.
That makes us great. Maybe, I mean, maybe we're not as great as we tell ourselves through history in terms of,
No,
okay.
we've been held back.
You wanted to add
Definitely.
something.
We've been held back.
Nathan. You wanted to add something when Dan was going down, I won't say the rabbit hole, but in that direction.
Hang on. So, what was I going to say? So, if you want to see evidence of, you was asking about extraterrestrials, right?
Yeah.
Basically, but if you look at our DNA,
Believe or not to believe.
If you look at our DNA, our telomerase, or telomeres,
what are they?
Right? They are, so on our DNA, it's like you have strands of DNA, and at the end of each strand, you have like the end of shoelaces, you have like a plastic wrap at the end of the shoelace.
Yeah.
They're called telomeres in our DNA, right?
Okay. Part of my DNA.
And they only occur, or they're only supposed to occur on the ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
But two of our telomeres have been fused together. So that's evidence right there of tampering.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It makes a certain type of sense. Well, you know what? What I would say is we've kind of touched on a lot more than we anticipated. And D, I think, have you got something playing in the background there on your end?
Yeah, I can hear that.
No, there's somebody else in the room.
Okay, we're going to be wrapping up now anyway. So I might mute you
from time
to
have
time.
to round up now.
Yeah,
because I've locked the room off from them for a long time. So
understand, but I'm going to mute you
it's
in
just
between.
not fair.
No, that's cool, D. I'm just going to mute you in between when like me and Nathan are speaking, and I'll bring you back on when you're ready to go.
I'll
let you do your wrapping up first, Nathan. A point. Yep. Please do.
I'd like to make a point about the Great Pyramid.
Yep.
Which is that you can find the speed of light in meters per second
now that is
in 3 different ways from the Great Pyramid.
You touch on that.
Right?
Speed of light.
You can, if you take the base of the Great Pyramid, which is a square, if you draw a circle around the base, and then you draw a circle inside the base so that the circle is touching on the outside circle is touching all 4 corners, and on the inside circle is touching all 4 sides. Then you subtract the length of the inner circle from the length of the outer circle, you get the speed of light in meters per second.
That's the equation.
That's the first way.
Right.
The second way is that the
sorry, D.
What do they call it? That the line of latitude.
Yes.
If you take the geographical coordinates of the Great Pyramid, it's on the north latitude. The coordinates, the number of that north latitude, that line that the Great Pyramid sits on the Earth. The number.
Okay, so there's an equation to this.
If you divide, so on a map here, each line of longitude and latitude has a number.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's
the
right.
Number.
Hello?
Yeah. Yeah. So the number of the north line of latitude, which the Great Pyramid sits upon, so it's like a circle going around the Earth.
30 degrees.
Well, the number, again, is the speed of light. The speed of light in meters per second is 299.
Nathan, can you come back on
792
and
458.
do a part 2 where you expand on this part of the discussion where you
Well,
kind
this
of...
is no, this is I'm just wrapping up now.
Okay.
This is this only take a second. Then
Cool.
the third way that you can get the speed of light from the Great Pyramid is if you take each what do they call it? So there's
45-degree angle.
there's levels inside
Hello?
the Great Pyramid. So
Can I
there's,
be heard?
You heard loud and clear.
Yeah, I
Danke.
can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
But just
He's just Nathan is just wrapping up.
so if you look at a map of the Great Pyramid, if you look at a side what do you call it? A cross section of the Great Pyramid, yeah.
Yes.
There's
It actually has 8
there's
sides.
so it's got chambers going downwards.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
what do you call it? Chambers, if you like, going down rooms, if you like, but they're corridors.
Yeah,
Corridors,
yeah.
yeah.
Corridors and
Chambers, yeah.
Corridors
chambers,
going
cavities,
down.
rooms.
Yeah.
And there's
Yep.
corridors going
Spaces.
up, yeah.
Okay.
If you start from the bottom one
Yep, working up.
and you measure that,
Yeah.
yeah, the first one is 29. I don't know if it's feet or meters long.
Okay.
The next one is
Length.
so they basically, if you take the measurements and put them together in a line, again you get the speed of light, starting from the bottom, working your way up.
Interesting.
So they're in order.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Just one more thing along the line of that,
If we can
Owen,
start wrapping
before
up.
we wrap up. Owen, CornerSpeak. Yeah, we're going to wrap up. There's something called tachyon frequency, tachyon energy.
Okay.
Okay. You guys may not have heard of that. You may or you may not have. But tachyon frequency or tachyon energy, if you look at it in Google or you just research it, you'll find it's a hypothetical a hypothetical something frequency or energy that is faster than the speed of light.
I see.
It moves faster than the speed of light. Okay. If you do, you can type it in tachyon energy.
So it's a
that
formula.
Actually it actually is in a kundalini shape, which comes off of the top of the pyramid. Any pyramid shape has that. Any pyramid has that energy. It's called a tachyon frequency or tachyon energy. And if when you look it up, the definition of it is it's a hypothetical particle or frequency that moves faster. Are you hearing me? Faster than the speed of light. So the pyramids have got endless amounts of feats of power, energy, soul, spirit, and vibe that you can't really touch in just one sitting.
Before we wrap up, I just want to...
But we're rounding up now.
I just want to say, I did hear there is some academics who specialized in this particular view of the pyramids, where they discuss the purpose of why they're there, how they were built, and they suggest that they were some form of generator or means of creating electricity or something. So I don't know too much about that, but I'm aware that there are schools.
I've got lots to say about that.
Okay, so this is...
Yeah.
I'll definitely
we can have a long discussion on it, but it's time to go.
Definitely like to get everybody back on again, pretty soon. Won't leave it too long. Might even be this week or early next week. And we actually do a whole show where we look at some of these formulas, these theories, the historical ones, the current ones, tested, untested, and both of you guys can, fully take it in whatever direction you want and enlighten the viewer on some of this information. It's been a good chat. It's been a good live. It's been a full informative stream. I would just like to say, from me, as per usual at this point in the proceedings, Owen Uadia here at CornerSpeak, thank you for spending time with the three of us. Special guest, Martial Law, Dan Keck, as usual, co-host of the nightly talk show. Be good, be safe, be creative if you can. From me, I'm pretty much out of here. I'll hand over to Dan Keck, and then we'll go back to Martial Law to have his last say before we Valamos. Over to you, Dan.
And the first thing I'd like to say is a big up and a respect to Nathan Martial Law for his information and going into outformation. And this man, this brother, has done some studying and come up with some real clarity on what there is out there. And the thing is that when you're on that level, yeah, you are becoming aware. When you become aware, different things happen to you. But the thing is to always stay rooted in what you the thing is to stay rooted, okay, in what you're learning, so that you can actually start putting it together. And that's what he's doing. He's doing that.
Yep.
And you start to get a clarity that takes you to another level. And so I'll just say a big respect to you. And Nathan, we got some more shit to talk about, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
On another level. Yeah. It's been great talking to you. And I say right knowledge, right wisdom, and right understanding. That's like what I like to say. And that gives you sound right reasoning. That comes from the Malachi Z. York, the man himself, the master teacher. But love and respect to you every time. Nathan, Owen,
man, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure meeting you.
I'll pass it to you.
Over to you, Nathan, for the last words as our special guest tonight.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you, Owen, for bringing me on, and it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Definitely enhanced the live.
And
by the way, it's K-E-K, by the way, bro. Sorry.
Oh, Keck. Sorry, not Tech. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry, I got confused there. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
You'll be back, I guess, some point this week or next week to go.
Yeah, I look forward to
at an earlier time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Please.
Well, from all three of us, folks,
we got you both.
Pretty much out of here.
Love.
Peace.